Imagine being told your skin is too dark to sell magazines, that your face is unmarketable, that the best you can hope for is to be fashion's token black girl, grateful for whatever scraps they throw you.
I started at 15 and my agent says to me I could model till I'm 30, but I don't want to. 15 years is a long time, although there are some that have.
Now imagine becoming so powerful that the same industry that rejected you starts shaking every time you walk into a room.
Now it's a bit more sophisticated. They kind of noticed me and that I'm growing up and, making me more womanly, which I like.
This is how Naomi Campbell went from fashion's victim to fashion's villain, and why that transformation might be the greatest runway walk of her life. The girl from Streatham Streatham, South London, 1970. Not exactly where fairy tales begin. Naomi Elaine Campbell arrives into a world that's already complicated. Her Jamaican mother, Valerie Morris, dances professionally across Europe. Her father, gone before she's even born. No explanation, no goodbye, just absence. So it's Ruby Ming, her Chinese-Jamaican grandmother, who raises her. At 3 years old, Naomi's already at the Barbara Speake Stage School. By 10, she's studying ballet at Italia Conti Academy. But here's what the fashion world would later miss. This wasn't some privileged beginning. This was survival dressed in tutus. The discipline comes early. Ballet isn't just about grace, it's about pain. Bleeding toes, aching muscles, teachers who demand perfection. For a little girl whose mother appears and disappears like a ghost, that structure becomes everything. The studio mirror doesn't lie. The bar doesn't abandon you. At 7, she's dancing in Bob Marley's Is This Love video. Just another kid in the crowd, but watch that footage now. Even then, there's something about how she moves, the way she holds her head, that natural rhythm. By 13, she's in a Culture Club video, still just a face in the background. But backgrounds teach you things. They teach you to watch, to learn, to wait for your moment. Then comes that day in 1985. 15-year-old Naomi, out shopping in Covent Garden with friends. They're just killing time, window shopping, being teenagers. A woman approaches, Beth Bolt from Supermodel agency. Have you ever thought about modeling? The ballet dancer from Streatham is about to enter a world that doesn't want her. Not really. Not yet. Within a year, she's on the cover of British Elle. The transformation is dizzying. One day she's taking the tube to school, the next she's in first-class flying to Paris. But pay attention to what happens next, because the fairy tale is about to hit a wall, a very white, very French wall. Paris, 1988, fashion capital of the world, where dreams supposedly come true. Naomi Campbell is 18 years old, already a rising star, already breaking barriers. She's the first black model on British Vogue's cover in 21 years. But French Vogue? Different story. 72 years. That's how long French Vogue has existed without a single black face on its cover. Not one. In 7 decades. Naomi's agent pushes. The magazine pushes back. The excuses are always the same, whispered in fitting rooms and boardrooms. Our readers aren't ready. It's not the right time. Maybe next season. But what they really mean is, you're too dark to sell. The modeling world of 1988 has a very specific idea of beauty. Blonde, blue-eyed, angular, but not too angular. Think Claudia Schiffer, who's about to explode onto the scene. Think Christy Brinkley, who's been America's sweetheart for years. That's what sells magazines, they say. That's what women want to see. Naomi doesn't fit. Her skin is too dark. Her features are too strong. Her walk is too aggressive. Everything about her is too much for an industry built on making women feel not enough. Behind the scenes, the rejection is constant. Bookings that mysteriously disappear when they realize which model they've hired. Campaigns that suddenly go in a different direction when she shows up. Editors who love her look but can't quite find the right story for her. Then Yves Saint Laurent enters the picture. The legendary designer who's been championing Naomi since she arrived in Paris. He's dressed her, mentored her, treated her like the star she is. And he's had enough. Saint Laurent doesn't write letters or stage protests. He picks up the phone and delivers an ultimatum to French Vogue. Either Naomi goes on the cover or he pulls every franc of his advertising money. We're talking millions. Suddenly, mysteriously, French Vogue discovers they're ready for their first black cover model after all. August 1988. Naomi Campbell makes history. The photo shoot itself is tense. Everyone knows what this represents. The photographer treats Naomi like spun glass, terrified of screwing up fashion's biggest moment. The styling is conservative, nothing too ethnic, nothing too bold. They want to make history without making waves. The cover hits newsstands. Sales don't plummet. The world doesn't end. French Vogue readers somehow survive seeing a black woman's face. This is the moment Naomi Campbell stops being just a model. This is when she becomes a symbol and a target. Early 90s supermodel scene. It's not just a job, it's a revolution. Models aren't just clothes hangers anymore. They're celebrities, household names, million-dollar brands. At the center of it all, the Trinity: Christy Turlington, Linda Evangelista, and Naomi Campbell. They're sisters in arms. There's this photo from 1990, all three of them in a bathtub full of champagne at the Paris Ritz after a Versace show, laughing like they own the world. And in a way, they do. Linda famously won't wake up for less than $10,000 a day. The quote becomes iconic, a symbol of their power. Christy's got that all-American goddess thing down. The girl next door if the girl next door was impossibly perfect. And Naomi? She's got the walk. That legendary walk that makes designers weep and other models quit. John Galliano puts it best. When Naomi walks, she commands. She slays. But the Trinity's friendship is more than just shared limos and champagne. In an industry that pits women against each other daily, they choose solidarity. When one gets a big campaign, the others celebrate. When one is having a hard time, the others rally. The most powerful example comes from Linda and Christy. Major designers start trying to book them without Naomi. The money is the same, the prestige is the same, but something's missing. Their friend is missing, so they make a pact. All three or none of us. Think about what that means in 1990. Two white supermodels risking lucrative bookings to stand with their black friend. It's not performative. There's no social media to broadcast their activism. It's just friendship. Just right. The solidarity is real, but it can't erase the differences in how they're treated. At airports, Christy and Linda breeze through customs while Naomi gets randomly searched. At hotels, the staff assumes Naomi is someone's assistant until they see her face and panic. At fashion parties, people compliment Linda's business acumen and Christy's intelligence. But with Naomi, it's always about her body, her walk, her exotic beauty. 1991, Gianni Versace's Milan show, the finale that defines an era. Naomi, Christy, Linda, and Cindy Crawford strut out together, lip-syncing to George Michael's Freedom, 90. The crowd goes wild. This is the peak, the moment when supermodels become superhuman. The energy in that room is electric. Fashion editors crying actual tears, buyers on their feet applauding. These four women representing everything fashion wants to be: powerful, untouchable, free. Except freedom looks different depending on who you are. Christy signs with Maybelline, multi-year deal, millions up front, her face on every drugstore shelf in America. Linda gets Revlon. Cindy lands Pepsi, becoming as famous for that Super Bowl ad as for any runway. Naomi? Nothing. Not one major beauty contract. She's good enough to sell clothes, but apparently not lipstick. She can be fashion's darling, but not America's sweetheart. The rejection is always polite, always couched in business speak. We're going in a different direction. Your look is too high fashion for mass market. We need someone more relatable. What they mean is, America isn't ready to see a black woman as the face of beauty. They party together in that champagne-filled bathtub, but when the bubbles settle, Naomi's still the only one. The exception, the token, the one who has to work twice as hard for half the recognition. And something starts to shift in her. That armor she's been building since childhood, it's getting thicker, because when you're the only one, you learn to protect your spot with everything you've got. even if it means becoming the very thing they whisper about you behind closed doors. July 15th, 1997, Miami Beach, the morning that changes everything. Gianni Versace steps out of his Ocean Drive mansion to buy magazines at News Cafe. It's his morning routine: espresso, Italian newspapers, a moment of normalcy in his extraordinary life. Minutes later, he's dead on his doorstep. 2 bullets to the head. The fashion world stops breathing. For Naomi, this isn't just industry news. This is personal, deeply, devastatingly personal.
What, in your view, made him such a special person?
He's very generous. He's been very loyal to everybody. His hospitality extends more than anyone I've ever met.
Versace wasn't just another designer who booked her. He was family, the man who put her in his shows when others hesitated, who treated her like a daughter, not a token, who saw her as Naomi, not the black model. Their relationship went beyond fashion. Gianni would invite her to family dinners at his Miami compound. He'd call her just to chat, not about work, but about life. In an industry where everyone wants something from you, Gianni just wanted her company. He understood isolation in a way others didn't. As a gay man in a macho industry, as an Italian in international fashion, he knew what it meant to be different. Maybe that's why he protected Naomi so fiercely. Days later, at his memorial show, Naomi walks the runway in Versace's final collection. She's sobbing, actual tears streaming down her face as she walks. The audience is crying too. Fashion has never felt this raw, this human. But watch her walk. Even through the tears, it's perfect. The posture, the pace, the presence. Because Gianni taught her that. How to be professional even when your heart is breaking. How to give them a show even when you're dying inside. But grief has a way of finding cracks in your armor. By 1999, the whispers about Naomi's partying aren't whispers anymore. The late nights, the missed bookings, the erratic behavior, it all makes sense when she finally admits the truth. Cocaine. The drug that fueled fashion's golden era has its claws in her deep. It started innocent enough. Everyone was doing it. Studio 54, backstage passes, bathroom stalls at the Met Gala. Just part of the scene, darling. Kate Moss has her heroine chic moment and becomes a cultural icon. Male models party their way through careers without consequence. But when you're Naomi Campbell, when you're already walking a tightrope, there's no margin for error. The addiction creeps up slowly, then all at once. What starts as a bump before a show becomes a line after. What starts as weekend partying becomes Tuesday morning maintenance. Naomi Campbell, the woman who commands every room she enters, checks herself into rehab in 1999. She does the work, the painful, unglamorous work of getting clean. No cameras, no stylists, no entourage, just Naomi and her demons in a fluorescent-lit room. The press, predictably, has a field day. Naomi's meltdown, Supermodel's shame. But what they don't write about is the loss, not just Versace, but what he represented. One of the few spaces in fashion where Naomi could just be. She completes treatment, she gets clean. But something's different when she returns. That vulnerability she showed on Versace's memorial runway, it's gone, replaced by something harder. Something that's tired of being fashion's tragic figure. The 90s are ending, the supermodel era is fading, and Naomi Campbell is about to become completely something else. March 2006, Manhattan. Naomi's on the phone with her housekeeper about a missing pair of jeans. Customized chip and pepper jeans, to be exact. What happens next becomes the stuff of tabloid legend. The phone flies across the room. It hits Anna Scolavino's head. Blood, stitches, police sirens. But let's rewind, because this isn't where the story starts. It starts in 1998, Toronto. Naomi's assistant, Georgina Galanis, claims Naomi hit her and threatened her during an argument. Naomi pleads guilty to assault, pays a fine, agrees to anger management. Strike one. 2000, another assistant. 2004, another housekeeper. A pattern emerges, and it's not pretty. The woman who fought so hard to be seen as more than a stereotype is becoming one. By 2007, Naomi's doing community service at a sanitation garage in New York. But here's the twist. She shows up in a $1,200 Dolce & Gabbana gown, then a $3,000 fur coat, then custom Louboutins. The photos are everywhere. Naomi Campbell mopping floors in couture. She's wearing a safety vest over designer clothes, pushing a broom in heels that cost more than most people's rent. The media can't decide if it's defiance or delusion, but Naomi knows exactly what she's doing. If they're going to humiliate her, she's going to make it fashion. Community service becomes performance art. 2008, Heathrow Airport. British Airways loses her luggage. 1 bag out of 2 doesn't make it onto the flight. For most people, this is an inconvenience. For Naomi, it's the final straw. She explodes, not just raising her voice, full-scale meltdown. When police arrive to remove her from the plane, she spits at them, kicks one officer, uses language that makes headlines. Banned from British Airways, more community service, more headlines, 4 convictions, 11 accusations. The headlines write themselves. Naomi attacks again. Campbell's rage, the supermodel from hell. The racial coding in the coverage is barely subtle. Words like volatile, aggressive, out of control, language with a very specific history when applied to Black women. No one asks what it does to a person to spend 20 years being the only one, the exception, the token. The same industry that wouldn't put her on magazine covers without financial threats now can't stop putting her on front pages. Every incident, every arrest, every tear gets dissected. The girl who was too dark to sell becomes the woman who sells papers by being exactly what they always said she was. Even Naomi knows it. Years later, she'll admit the obvious. Would I be treated this way if I were white? No. But in the moment, all anyone sees is the spectacle, the diva, the disaster. She shows up to court. She serves her time. She pays the fines, the settlements, the lawyers, and somewhere in all that noise, people forget something crucial. This is the same woman who integrated French Vogue, who opened doors that had been locked for decades, who's still booking jobs, still walking runways, still here despite an industry that's been trying to destroy her since day one. The anger is real, the violence inexcusable, but maybe, just maybe, after 20 years of being fashion's exception, the only surprise is that it took this long to explode. 2013. The fashion world is having a moment of reckoning. Well, sort of. Naomi Campbell sits in a room with Bethan Hardaiso and fellow supermodel Iman. They're done being polite. Together, they form the Diversity Coalition. Their first move? A letter. But not some vague, we need change manifesto. No, they name names. Celine, 0 Black models. Saint Laurent, 0. Versace, 0. Prada, 0. The letter is surgical in its precision. Eyes are on an industry that season after season watches design houses consistently use one or no models of color. No matter the intention, the result is racism. The fashion press clutches its pearls. How dare they be so direct? Some designers fire back, claiming they don't see color when casting. Others hide behind the classic excuse, we couldn't find any Black models who fit our aesthetic. But that's the point. Naomi's done whispering in fitting rooms. She's calling out the industry that made her fight for every inch of space. Something shifts. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but it shifts. By Fashion Week 2014, the numbers start changing. Not dramatically, but noticeably. Designers who haven't cast a Black model in years suddenly discover they exist. Young Black models start appearing. Not just one per show, the token position Naomi held for so long, but multiple faces, multiple stories. Jordan Dunn, Joan Smalls, and later, Adut Akech. And here's where it gets interesting. These young models don't fear Naomi Campbell. They worship her. The mythology has shifted. The difficult diva narrative gets recontextualized. These young women understand what Naomi was fighting against because they're fighting it too, just in a slightly different world. The woman who once guarded her territory like a fortress is now opening doors, teaching runway walks, making phone calls, using the same fierce reputation that made her tabloid gold to protect a new generation. May 2021. An Instagram post stops the fashion world cold. Naomi Campbell at 50, holding a baby. Her baby. No explanation, no baby bump photos, no announcement. Just, a beautiful little blessing has chosen me to be her mother. 2 years later, she does it again. Another child, another surprise. At 53, the internet explodes with questions. Who's the father? Did she use a surrogate? Is this even real? Speculation runs wild. Former boyfriends are analyzed. Timelines are scrutinized. Naomi's response to all of it: silence. Beautiful, powerful silence. In interviews, when pressed, she gives them nothing. I'm not going to discuss the father. That's private. My children are my priority. It's never too late to become a mother. This is the same woman who had her rehab photos splashed across tabloids, who had every arrest documented, every phone thrown analyzed. And here she is, keeping the most intimate parts of her life completely, utterly private. Because that's what real power looks like at 54. She's still walking runways, still closing shows. February 2023, she closes Valentino's Paris Fashion Week show. The setting is dramatic, an empty warehouse, single spotlight. When Naomi appears, the audience gasps. She's not walking, she's floating. The dress trails behind her like liquid gold. Her face serene, powerful, untouchable. Models half her age have been walking all week, but this is different. This is mastery. 2018. After 3 decades in the industry, Naomi Campbell finally gets a major beauty contract. NARS. She's 48 years old. The campaign images are extraordinary. Her face, unretouched, magnificent. Most models would be bitter about the decades of being passed over. Naomi? She shows up and delivers the best photos of her career. 2019. She receives the Fashion Icon Award from the Council of Fashion Designers of America. The British Fashion Council gives her the same honor. 2020. The Victoria and Albert Museum announces something unprecedented, a Naomi Campbell exhibition. Not a supermodel exhibition, not a 90s fashion retrospective. An entire show dedicated to one woman's impact on culture. And maybe that's the real revenge, not the designer gowns at community service or the phone-throwing headlines. It's this, outlasting every single person who said she was too dark, too difficult, too much. The girl from Streatham who wasn't supposed to be on magazine covers now has her face in a museum. The model who couldn't get a beauty contract is now the blueprint every agency tries to recreate. The angry black woman they tried to destroy became the icon they can't stop celebrating. A force that opened doors by sometimes slamming them. A force that showed you could be both victim and victor. A force that proved sometimes the only way to change an industry is to terrify it into submission. And honestly, that's exactly how it should be. Because in the end, they'll remember the supermodel who wouldn't stay in her place, who wouldn't be satisfied with scraps, who turned being difficult into being legendary. The girl who was too dark to sell became too powerful to ignore. And she's still here, still walking, still making them nervous. Long may she reign.